welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia and this is Wags of Wonder. I'm super happy you're here today. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing you 10 things I wish I knew before picking out my service dog trainer. Now these things we're going to dive into 10 different things that I think would be very useful and helpful for anybody out there who's trying to look for a service dog trainer. And we will get right into it, but first, if you want to, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, or also you can hit that like button wherever you like. I'm really happy you're here today, and let's get right to it. Alrighty, the 10 things that I wish I knew before finding a service dog trainer. Alright, so if it looks like I'm looking down, that is because I did write these things down on my notebook down here, so if I'm looking down, that's why. Alright, number 1, know how committed you want to be. I put this in asterisks on my notes. This is the most important thing out of all these 10. That's why it's number 1. Now, I say this because do you want to be a full-time owner trainer or do you want to be a part-time owner trainer? What I mean by this is you're going to be spending a lot of energy and time on this and money, of course, but do you want to have a service dog that's part-time where you're letting them go to be boarded and then get trained and then you come home and consistently put in effort and work into knowing how to train that dog through the ways of what the board in place was? So there's different types of ways you can train a service dog. The ways I'm doing it is I'm going to be having a part-time trainer, service dog trainer, and I'm going to be the owner trainer at the same time doing majority of it. So know how committed you want to be to your dog and to the training in itself. So, and then that leads into number 2, knowing how selective you need to be. So there's different types of training out there. So it depends on whatever you're looking through, but there are nonprofits, there are programs that you can go into where it's a week course set for your dog, or there is a temporary trainer, which is what I'll be using, which is where my trainer will have their phone on them wherever they're going, and if I'm like, hey, I need to schedule a session because I'm kind of confused on how to train this, then you can do that. So it's basically, if you want to do more hands-on, then the temporary training is the good way to go. But there's stacks of how high of a level you want to put your energy into training your dog. All right, and that leads to number 3, the cost. This is really something I've learned that a lot of people don't know about in the service dog world and in the world in general, is that it is expensive. Even if you're being your own owner trainer to your service dog and training, or if you're getting a temporary trainer while doing it, it still is going to add up and the price is going to reach climax. And so you have to understand how expensive it will be. When I started looking for a service dog trainer, I didn't realize that the prices are all over the board. I could get a trainer where I was getting my dog in every single week, and that was $175 for an hour session each. So you have to know your area, and you have to know if you want a part-time or a full-time trainer. Full-time is probably once a week. Part-time is more like once or twice a month, where your dog is coming to this trainer to be taught new ways of how to be a service dog. And I will say this, it will slower the process at which you train your dog. If you're being consistent every day, doing your own training, that's good, but there will be more areas for error, and so at which you don't have that service dog trainer to come in every single week. That can cause an issue with the training at itself, because the progress may not be what you're looking for with what the time and the money you're putting into it, if that makes sense. And so it's all about finding the balance. What is going to be best for bang for your buck, but then also is going to be good with your schedule and work out with the things you have to do daily life to make your bills, to pay for electricity, pay for the place you live in, like all those things. So just find the median and don't be so focused on what's the best or worst option. Just from my opinion, based off the research I've done, is that it's best to do what is good for you, and progress will be seen different with how much commitment and time you put into your service dog and training. All right, number 4, the waiting game. Trainers will be booked up. In my area, there are not a lot of service dog trainers. And when I say that, I mean it. And when I mean it, I mean it is expensive. I really hope the places where you guys live that there are tons of service dog trainers that you can go to. But in my area, there was only two companies that had people who were willing to help me out in what I'm looking for. And so trainers will be booked up, and you have to make sure that you're preparing enough in time to get that trainer set up before you even get your dog. So make sure, please, this will make your life so much easier if you try to make sure that you book a service dog trainer several months in advance before you get your puppy. And you want to make sure that you have a trainer in the waiting game, having a trainer who agrees with the training methods at which you want to do. Now, this can be a controversial subject, but there are some people who use e-collars, or they also use prong collars, and there's also different ways of using lead ropes. And based off what your preference is, make sure to find a trainer that does either not those things or those things, and base it off of what you think your best preference is. Alrighty, number 5, agree to disagree. Trainers will train in ways you may or may not like. Make sure that you know what you want and what you don't want. Some trainers will agree with the way that you want to go about training, and they might negotiate a different way. If you're strong in what you believe in, I would say be light to disagree, but also find that medium of, okay, I agree with you and we can move on past our differences. Now, I get the whole situation and the place at which you're at and where you may need to make this decision, but just try to remember that you always need to find a balance in this topic. Trainers will sometimes say, we don't do that for this reason. Be open to listen to them, but you also may want to be like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to go this way. It's based up to you and what you want to do and what's best for your situation. All right, number 6. Make sure that you get along with your trainer. This kind of goes into number 5, but you're going to be with this person for at least a couple years, if not more. Training is never an end road. It's continuously going. And when you're going down this path, you have to constantly be remembering that there's going to be bumps in the road, and that's when you're going to need to bring in your trainer and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. How can I best assist you? And so making sure that you have that trainer with you in those paths and in those icky areas to make sure you be like, hey, what am I doing wrong? And the trainer will help re-guide you and your service dog in training on how to best handle that situation. So if they say that they don't do things that you think that are good, go ahead and question those things. It's never bad to ask questions. I want to emphasize this. It's never bad to ask questions. When you are choosing your service dog trainer, you want to make sure you get along, but then you also want to make sure that the questions you're asking are questions that are going to help them learn and yourself learn. All right, number 7. Look at nonprofit options. I know I said this earlier in the video, but this is a really good one. There are so many resources out there that help provide service dogs, but are super expensive. Now, this is a big thing that not a lot of people know about, but there are nonprofits out there who will be a trainer with you for a low price. I've seen them, and there's a lot of people who don't know this. There are trainers out there who work with nonprofits to help people in low income circumstances be able to train their service dog. Now, this is not saying that they take your dog and go board it and train it for several weeks. No, this is like your own training. And I think this can be very good and suffice to a lot of issues that people have when it comes to finances in the service dog world. All right, number 8. Find a trainer that will always be flexible. You don't want a trainer who's going to say, this is when we'll meet every week, and if you're not there, then I'm not going to be your trainer anymore. That sounds kind of like a duh, like, yeah, I'm not going to have this trainer anymore. But there are people out there who are service dog trainers who are strict to their schedules. And I think it's really important to find somebody who's flexible within your schedule and theirs. If your schedules don't align, that may mean that there are more cons outweighing the pros. But make sure in this earlier of the list to find all of those pros and all of those cons to see what balances out and what makes the most sense to you. Now, this trainer that you find needs to be able to cancel on a moment's notice. You may be having a medical episode or something may be going on and you really need to end that thing. Make sure that you don't have to owe them money for accidentally canceling last minute. That is a very important thing to know. All right, number 9, which leads into read the fine print. Some service dog trainers out there have a contract that you have to read through. Now, if you are reading through this contract, make sure you read the fine print. Some people just pass over a contract and don't even read it and just sign. But when you sign that, you say that you agree to all of the agreements in that contract. Now, there are also other trainers that don't have you sign a contract. But I know that I've read contracts through these 2 trainers, and one of them I went with a different one because one of the trainers had stated that in the agreement I would have to not cancel at a moment's notice, and if I did, I'd have to pay the full fee, and I didn't agree with that. So I went with a different trainer. So make sure to read the fine print. All right, last but not least, number 10. Always do your research. After all of these 10 things, there are a bajillion of different things out there that you probably wish that you knew before you got your service dog trainer. Just remember that this is not a perfect journey. It's going to have a bunch of obstacles in the road, but you have to be flexible and do your research. Be prepared. Mentally get prepared for how difficult that this journey will be. I mean, I've spent almost 2 years doing research and trying to find the right path and do all the right steps, and I've still made mistakes. That's why I made this list of 10 things that I wish I knew before I was making this video today. So always do your research. Know the best trainer, who's going to be best fit for your schedule, and who will also be flexible with who you are and what your dog's needs are. So that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. And if you want to, you can go ahead, leave that like button, or you can also subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Again, you guys are the best, and don't forget, you are loved, and stay strong. Bye guys. See you in the next episode.